How hackers break into Roblox. You've definitely heard of hackers, but do you actually know how they get past the platform's security? I dug into Roblox's internal data, real code, and developer forums. And trust me, what I found out was way crazier than I ever expected. This video has 5 cards, 5 parts of this investigation, where we'll break things down step by step. How the layers of protection work, why some cheats are 100 times more dangerous than others, and what's really going on inside the hacking community. And we're starting with the most important part. Card 1, the basics of hacking. You've definitely heard the word hacking thrown around. Movies show cool guys in hoodies typing furiously and cracking the Pentagon in 30 seconds. But what actually is it? If you Google it, you'll get something like, using deep technical knowledge of IT systems to find vulnerabilities and bypass security. Sounds complicated? Let me break it down simply. Imagine any game is a huge house with tons of rooms, doors, and locks. The developers build this house and decide where you're allowed to go and where you're not. Hacking is when someone finds a way to open a door that's supposed to be locked, sneak into places they shouldn't be, and start doing things normal players can't. In the world of Roblox, this means players giving themselves unfair advantages. For example, flying around the map or seeing other players through walls, that's called ESP. Basically, you can see everyone even if they're hiding behind a building. Or turning on aimbot so every single shot magically hits exactly on target. Easy to play with, right? An absolute nightmare to play against. But how is any of this even possible? How can someone make a game do things it's not supposed to do? To understand that, you need to know one important thing. When you launch Roblox, your computer loads a ton of data into RAM, your random access memory. Think of it like a work desk where all the papers you need right now are spread out. Everything important is stored in those papers. Where is your character standing? How much health do you have? Where are you running? What's happening around you in the game? Essentially, the entire game lives in real time inside that RAM. And that's exactly where hackers go. They get access to that memory, read the data, change it, and boom! They've got infinite health, super speed, or the ability to teleport anywhere on the map. But how exactly do they get access to that memory? They're not reaching in by hand, right? There's a special tool for this called an executor. The name sounds intense, but it's basically a program that lets you run your own code directly inside a Roblox game. Imagine you're playing, and someone next to you plugs in their own controller and starts pressing buttons that neither of you are supposed to have. That's an executor. And the code that runs through an executor is called a script. A script is a set of instructions written in a programming language. Different scripts do different things. One script can automatically farm for you in blocks fruits. Another can turn on aimbot in Arsenal so every shot flies straight to an opponent's head. Some scripts give you super speed, some make you invisible, and some are completely wild, letting you fly or walk through walls. And the most surprising part? Finding all of this isn't that hard. Forums, websites, entire communities on Discord, scripts and executors ready to download are everywhere. Some are free, some cost money, but practically anyone who knows how to use a search engine can get their hands on them. Now let's go back in time a bit. In the early days of Roblox, hacking was basically the Wild West. You know, like in old westerns. No laws, no sheriff. Do whatever you want. No real security measures existed. Anti-cheat was basically non-existent. Wanna fly? Go ahead. Wanna deal infinite damage to everyone? No problem. Wanna teleport every player on the server to one spot? Easy. Because of all this, almost nobody got banned. It was complete anarchy, and hackers felt like kings. But everything changed when one serious thing entered the picture. Meet Hyperion, also known as Bifron. This is the security system that turned the entire world of Roblox hacking upside down. Roblox didn't build it themselves. Instead, they bought an entire company. On October 11th, 2022, Roblox acquired Bifron Technologies. And from that moment, everything started to change. Hyperion was officially launched alongside the 64-bit client on May 3rd, 2023. And here's what's really interesting. Bifron works completely differently from most anti-cheats you might have heard of. Most anti-cheats work on roughly the same principle. They sit and wait for someone to start cheating, catch them in the act, and then ban them. The hacker manages to cause damage first, and only then gets punished. Bifron is different. It doesn't wait for you to start cheating. It doesn't let you do it in the first place. This isn't an anti-cheat in the traditional sense, it's an anti-tamper system. The difference is enormous. Instead of catching cheaters after the fact, Bifron blocks the launch of exploits entirely. It's like a security guard who won't let you into the building at all, rather than catching you once you're already inside. You haven't even started, and you're already stopped. And here's where things get really interesting. Because you'd think, if Bifron is so powerful and prevents cheats from running, that should be the end for hackers, right? But it's not that simple. To understand how exploiters manage to get around Bifron, we need to figure out how it actually works. And trust me, it's far more complex and interesting than it looks at first glance. We're moving on to card 2, Bifron. But before we talk about how hackers try to bypass it, we first need to understand how it protects Roblox. Because this is not some simple little program. It's a real fortress with multiple layers of defense. Let's break down each one. First, and perhaps most importantly, Bifron starts working the moment you launch Roblox. Not after a minute, not after 30 seconds, instantly. Why does this matter? Because before, hackers had a kind of gap, a short window of time between when the game launched and when protection activated. In those few seconds, you could inject your code, connect an executor, and you were in. Bifron sealed that gap shut. It starts up simultaneously with the game and gives hackers virtually 0 seconds to interfere. On top of that, Bifron constantly checks all of Roblox's files, including its own, making sure nothing has been modified, swapped out, or corrupted. If you try to tweak something in the game files, change textures to make walls transparent, slip in your own code, Bifron will notice. It compares files against what they're supposed to look like. If something doesn't match, you're not getting in. Remember when we talked about RAM? That work desk with all the game data, your character's position, your health, your speed? All of that lives in RAM. Before, hackers could casually dig around in there and change whatever they wanted. Bifron put a stop to that. It now carefully monitors the game's memory and prevents any unauthorized access. If some outside program tries to read or modify data inside Roblox's memory, Bifron will detect it and block it. And this might be one of the coolest and most clever things Bifron does. Obfuscation. The word sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Any program is code, a set of instructions written in a programming language. If a hacker can read that code, they can understand how the protection works, find weak spots, and figure out how to get around them. Obfuscation is when developers take their code and turn it into complete gibberish. They encrypt it, scramble it, rename every variable and function into meaningless strings of symbols. The code keeps working exactly the same way, but if you try to read it, you'll see a random mess of letters and numbers that's impossible to make sense of. Imagine trying to read a book where every word has been replaced with random symbols, the chapters are shuffled, and the pages are numbered in reverse. The meaning is technically still in there somewhere, but good luck finding it. That's exactly what obfuscation does to Roblox's code. And that's why it's incredibly difficult for hackers to even understand how the protection works, let alone figure out how to fool it. And the most devious part? Roblox regularly updates this obfuscation. So even if some genius hacker spent weeks deciphering the code, bam, an update drops, and all their work goes in the trash. Start over. But Bifron doesn't stop there. It also carefully scans your computer for suspicious programs. You know a thing called Cheat Engine? It's a program that lets you dig through any application's memory and change values, and it's commonly used to cheat in games. Well, if Bifron detects that you have Cheat Engine or a similar tool running, you won't even be able to open Roblox. Not play, you can't even load in. And it's not just Cheat Engine. Bifron has an entire list of programs commonly used for hacking. If any of them are running on your computer, sorry, no Roblox for you today. Shut everything suspicious down first. And here's one more thing most people don't think about, but it's genuinely clever. Bifron has an alternate account tracking system. Say you get banned for cheating. What does a typical hacker do? Create a new account and keep cheating like nothing happened. This used to work perfectly, but now things have changed. Bifron collects unique identifiers from your device, like a digital fingerprint of your computer. What GPU do you have? What processor? What settings? All of this is compiled into a unique profile and sent to Roblox. So even if you create 10 new accounts, Roblox will know, hey, this is the same machine that banned cheater was using, and that new account gets banned too. With all these layers of protection, you're probably thinking, okay, this sounds powerful, but surely someone managed to get past Bifron. And you know what? For a while, genuinely nobody did. When Bifron launched, the Roblox hacking world went into full panic mode. Many cheat developers just gave up and walked away. Some switched to other games, some dropped it entirely. And here's one story that will seriously blow your mind. Synapse X, one of the most famous and powerful executors in Roblox history, you know what its creators did? They switched sides. They went to work for Roblox. The people who built one of the main hacking tools went to work for the very company they used to hide from. It's like the main villain in a movie suddenly pinning on a police badge and catching criminals. This shows just how serious Bifron turned out to be. Even the best hackers realized it was easier to work with Roblox than against it. Running scripts became incredibly difficult. Methods that had worked for years stopped functioning overnight. Executors that hackers relied on became useless. Entire cheating communities were left completely lost. And here are the numbers that speak for themselves. 221 days. From April 27, 2023 to December 4, 2023, there was not a single public, easily accessible, or affordable way to bypass Bifriend. 221 days. That's more than 7 months during which hackers couldn't do a thing. For the hacking world, that's an eternity. Normally, when a new anti-cheat comes out, it gets cracked in days, sometimes hours. But here, 7+ months of silence. And that's not even all. It took even longer, a full 293 days, almost 10 months, before a genuinely reliable and undetected bypass method finally appeared. Meaning for nearly a year, hackers were completely defeated. All their tools stopped working, all their methods failed, and there was nothing they could do about it. For regular Roblox players, it was a golden era. No flying cheaters, no aimbot, no players ruining everyone's fun. Just fair gameplay, exactly the way it was meant to be. But you know how it goes. No wall lasts forever. And sooner or later, someone found a way. By the way, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. That way I'll know you're enjoying my videos and I'll put out more. Now we've reached card 3, Understanding Exploits. As expected, it was only a matter of time before someone found a way around Bifriend. Remember that impenetrable wall? Well, any wall can eventually be bypassed if you look for cracks long enough, and hackers were looking. Every day, every week, for months. Cheat developers started coming up with workarounds, some free, some paid, sometimes for very serious money. And as always in this endless war, new hacking methods kept being invented while old ones got patched. One bypass gets closed, hackers find another. That one gets closed too. A third appears. An endless cycle. But here's the thing, and this is really important to understand. Not all bypasses are equal. Some let you do very little. Others give you almost complete control over the game. And to understand why that is, we need to talk about something called exploit levels. To make it easier to visualize, let's use an analogy. Imagine Roblox is a massive, high-security building, a skyscraper. Inside are many floors, each with its own doors, its own locks, and its own clearance level. Not everyone can access every floor. Some people have a pass only for the first floor. Others have a key card that opens everything. The code running the Roblox game is structured exactly the same way. Regular players are just visitors. You arrived, got a guest badge, and you can walk around the lobby and a couple of open halls. Game developers are the building's architects. They designed it, know every corner, and have access to many rooms. Roblox itself, the company, is the building owner. They have every key to every door. And hackers? Well, hackers are the guys in black masks trying to get onto floors they're not supposed to be on. Let's now walk through each floor of this building so you understand what becomes possible at each level, and why some cheats are far more dangerous than others. At the lowest level, we have regular players running the most basic scripts. And here's something important to understand. At this level, you can only change how things look on your own screen. You can't actually change the game itself. Imagine you're at a museum with a pair of binoculars. You can study paintings up close, see details others miss. But you can't take a painting off the wall, move a sculpture, or touch anything at all. You just see more than the other visitors. That's it. That's exactly how level 2 cheats work. For example, a skin changer that changes the appearance of items or characters, but only for you. Other players don't see it, and it doesn't affect the actual game. Or take a wall hack, a cheat that lets you see through walls. Sounds cool, right? You can see where enemies are hiding, what's around the corner. But here's the thing, you're only seeing. You can't shoot through walls, teleport to enemies, or do anything that actually breaks the game. You just get an unfair visual advantage, and that's it. Uncomfortable for other players? Yes. Truly destructive to the game? Not really. That's why level 2 cheats are considered the weakest. They provide minimal capabilities and are generally the easiest for anti-cheat to detect. Now let's go up a level, and here things start getting serious. If level 2 is a visitor, levels 3 and 4 are building employees. They have a pass that opens more doors. They can enter some staff areas but still can't change the structure of the building. They're not architects or owners, just workers with expanded access. This is exactly where Roblox's internal systems operate. The mechanisms that run the entire behind the scenes of the game. Systems handling player connections to servers, physics, how your character jumps, runs, collides with objects, and execution of the scripts that make the game work. If hackers manage to tap into these systems, they can do far more dangerous things than just looking through walls. For example, they can start manipulating hitboxes. A hitbox is the invisible zone around a character that determines whether a bullet or strike landed on them. Normally, a hitbox roughly matches the size of the character's body. But a hacker at level 3 or 4 can shrink their own hitbox down to almost nothing, nearly impossible to hit. Or do the opposite, enlarge enemies' hitboxes so every shot connects, even if it was way off target. Imagine playing dodgeball where your opponent's ball is the size of a pea, but yours is the size of a truck. Unfair? Absolutely. They can also interfere with movement physics. Your character suddenly moves slightly faster or jumps a little higher. Done so subtly that neither other players nor anti-cheat immediately notice. This is still just a warm-up. The real fun starts at level 5. Well, fun if you're a hacker. For everyone else, it's more of a nightmare. At level 5, game developers have real power. Think of them as the building's architects. They designed it, and they have access to a special control panel, a dashboard where you can modify the game in real time, change code, run special commands, add and remove objects. Now imagine a hacker somehow gets access to this dashboard. They're not just seeing through walls or moving a little faster. They can change the game itself, modify the rules, change how objects behave, essentially rewrite reality inside the game world. Hackers at this level gain access comparable to what actual game developers have. If level 5 is already serious, level 6 is the next step up in danger. At this level, we find plugins and admin scripts, tools developers use to manage their games. For example, there's a popular thing called HD admin, a set of admin commands that let you teleport players, change the time of day, kick rule breakers, and so on. These are useful tools built for developers, but hackers can hijack them, take control of admin scripts, and give themselves administrative powers in games where they have absolutely no right to have them. It's like a random person on the street somehow getting the keys to a police car, getting behind the wheel and turning on the siren. They have no right to do it, but technically, they're behind the wheel and can do whatever they want. At level 6, exploits become truly powerful. Let's break down exactly what a hacker can do. First, player input interception. The hacker can interfere with how your keyboard and mouse interact with the game. You press one button, but the game thinks you pressed another. Or they configure their own input so certain actions happen automatically, like instant enemy reactions that would be physically impossible for a normal human. Second, ESP hacks. ESP stands for extrasensory perception. It sounds like a superpower from a comic book, and in a way, it is. An ESP hack shows you information you shouldn't be able to see, exact enemy positions on the map, what weapons they're carrying, even which direction they're looking. Third, movement mechanic modification. At level 6, hackers can change their character's speed, but the key point is they do it subtly enough to avoid detection. This isn't the kind of speed boost where someone flies across the map like a rocket and everyone immediately knows it's a cheater. No, this is careful. A barely noticeable speed increase. Just enough to have an advantage, but not enough to raise suspicion. You seem to be running at normal speed, but somehow you always get there first. Other players feel like something's off, but can't prove anything. Alright, if everything so far seemed serious, get ready. Because levels 7 and 8 take everything to a completely different level. It's like the difference between petty theft and the heist of the century. At level 7, hackers don't just break into the building, they have master keys. Keys that open every door, every safe, every secret passage. At this level, they can manipulate how the game itself processes data, not just change values like health or speed, but alter the actual process of how that data is handled. What does this mean in practice? They can control hit registration. In shooters, hit registration is the system that determines whether a bullet actually hit its target. A hacker at level 7 can make this system think their bullet connected, even if they were firing in a completely different direction. Or the opposite, that the enemy's bullets all missed, even though they hit dead on. Now level 8. This is basically God mode, game over for fair play. At level 8, exploits gain full control over virtually every function running on the game client. The client is the program running on your computer when you play Roblox. It's responsible for everything you see and do, rendering graphics, processing your key presses, communicating with the server. At level 8, a hacker controls this entire client. It's like sitting at the helm of a spaceship with the ability to press any button. But here's what's truly insane, and this is the moment that really blows your mind. Not every hack operates strictly on one level. The most advanced and dangerous hacks operate at levels 7 or 8, with all that insane power, but they disguise themselves as low-level scripts when interacting with the game. On the outside, they look completely harmless, like a regular level 2 or 3 script. But on the inside, it's a monster with full control over the client. It's like a malicious employee who has a master key to the entire building and can sneak into any restricted area. But the moment security shows up, they instantly transform into a regular visitor, smiling, holding a guest badge, acting like they just got lost. Cameras don't flag them, sensors don't trigger, guards walk right past. This is exactly how the most dangerous exploits stay undetected for weeks, even months, before the Roblox team finally catches them and releases a patch. And this is precisely why fighting cheating is such a difficult challenge. It's not just finding a hacker and banning them, it's a constant game of cat and mouse where both sides keep getting smarter and more inventive. So yes, bypassing Byfriend isn't just finding a way into the building, it's climbing the access ladder, floor by floor, without getting detected. Level 2, you're just peeking. Level 4, you're already bothering others. Level 6, you're breaking the rules. Level 8, you're rewriting the game itself. Now let's keep moving, because the story only gets more interesting. Card 4, bypassing Byfriend. Now that you understand how exploit levels work, let's talk about the most interesting part, the actual methods hackers use to bypass Roblox's security. Because trust me, these guys are genuinely creative. Sometimes you look at their methods and think, why are you using your brain on this and not something actually useful? All right, let's go. 4 main methods, each one like a separate heist plan from a movie. The first method is called proto-conversion. Imagine Roblox's security is a massive building with tons of rooms. To enter each one, you need a special key card. Tap it on the reader, beep, door opens. Each card has its own unique code, and depending on its type, it accesses different areas. Regular card, lobby and cafeteria. Employee card, work floors. And the master key? That opens everything. Every door, every safe, every secret passage. Here's what hackers do. They take the most ordinary basic card, the one that only opens the front door in the bathroom, and start tinkering with its code. They rewrite the data, change the internal structure, tweak the values. And they keep doing this until that card becomes indistinguishable from a master key. On the outside, it's the same card, the same piece of plastic. But the code on it now says, "Let me through everywhere," and the system obeys. Proto-conversion in Roblox works on the same principle. A hacker takes an ordinary basic script, one that can barely change the color of a button, and modifies its internal structure. What's called its prototype. A prototype is like a rule book for a script. What is it allowed to do? Which data can it access? Which functions can it call? By changing the prototype, the hacker makes the system believe this simple little script is actually an important system program with full access. Roblox looks at it and thinks, oh, this is one of ours. Let it through. And suddenly the script has access to things it's not supposed to touch at all. It can modify game data, control objects, read information that should be hidden. Essentially, it's document forgery. But instead of forging a paper passport, you're forging a script's digital identity. The second method is Lua wrapping, and this one is pure deception. First, what is Lua? Lua is the programming language scripts in Roblox are written in. When a developer wants a door to open at a button press, monsters to patrol a route, or a coin pickup to play a sound, all of that is written in Lua. It's essentially the language Roblox speaks. Now imagine there's a command center inside our building. A room full of buttons, levers, and screens. One button opens doors, another activates cameras, a third controls lighting. Security watches this room 24/7. Anyone who walks in and starts pressing something suspicious gets caught immediately. So here's what the hacker comes up with. Instead of breaking into the real command center where they'd be caught instantly, they build an exact replica of that room, somewhere in the basement, in an abandoned wing. A perfect copy. Same buttons, same panels, same screens. But it's a fake. A decoy. The hacker enters this fake room and starts pressing buttons, but their tools take each press in the fake room and translate it into a real command for the actual system. Press the fake "Open Door 7" button, real door 7 opens. Turn the fake camera lever, real cameras turn. And security, watching the real command center, they see nothing. From their perspective, commands are arriving through normal channels. Nobody entered the real room, nobody touched the real buttons, no alarm triggered. That's Lua wrapping. The hacker creates a wrapper, a virtual layer between themselves and Roblox's actual code. Their malicious commands pass through this wrapper, which disguises them as normal, legitimate actions. Byfriend sees normal input and lets it through. It's like trying to catch a spy who speaks the local language perfectly, dresses like everyone else, and stands out in absolutely no way. You look at them and see nothing suspicious, because everything on the outside is perfect. All the deception is hidden under the wrapper. The third method is DLL injection. This is probably the oldest and most classic hacking technique, used not just in Roblox but everywhere. What is a DLL? DLL stands for Dynamic Link Library. Think of a program on your computer as a chef preparing a dish who needs ingredients: flour, eggs, butter. A DLL is like a pre-packed box of ingredients the chef uses while cooking. One box handles game sound, another handles graphics, another handles internet connectivity. The program opens these boxes and uses what's inside. That's completely normal. That's how all programs work. DLL injection is when a hacker sneaks their own box into the program. It looks like a regular one from the outside, same shape, same label, but the contents are completely different. The program opens it and has no idea it's a fake. Back to the building. Imagine a group of people in official uniforms shows up at the main entrance with badges and equipment cases. "We're from tech support," they say, "here to update the servers." Security checks, uniforms, badges, professional-looking cases, and waves them through. But these aren't technicians. They're hackers. Once inside, they connect their own equipment to the building's internal systems and can now control anything: doors, cameras, alarms, everything. Sounds like a perfect plan? Almost. But Byfriend knows this trick very well. The moment it detects something unfamiliar, something that shouldn't be there, it shuts everything down. Game closes, account gets banned. Instantly, no warnings, no second chances. That's why modern DLL injectors have gotten much more sophisticated. Some disguise their DLL as a system library, faking the digital signature. Others copy code directly into the game's memory, byte by byte, bypassing all standard checks. But even so, DLL injection remains one of the riskiest methods. The chance of getting caught is very high. And the fourth method, lag switching. Probably the simplest of all, and at the same time, the most infuriating. If you've ever seen a player mysteriously teleporting around the map, this is most likely what you were watching. How does any online game work? Your computer constantly talks to the server. Every fraction of a second it sends, "I'm here, I'm looking this way, I pressed this." The server responds, "Received, here's what's happening around you." This conversation never stops for a second. It's what lets you see other players, and them see you. Now imagine a hacker cuts off this conversation, not forever, just for a couple of seconds. Like if someone in our building walked up to the phone panel and killed the connection. While the connection is cut, the server gets no information. It doesn't know where the hacker is, what they're doing, where they're going. The last thing it knew was the hacker's position at the moment of disconnect. So for everyone else, the hacker just freezes in place, like a statue. But on the hacker's computer, the game keeps running. They're running, shooting, picking up items, sneaking behind opponents. All of these actions are being recorded but not sent to the server, because the connection is down. Then, bam, they turn the connection back on. All the data that had been building up floods the server at once. And for everyone else, it looks like the hacker was standing at point A, and suddenly they're at point B, on the other side of the map. Why is this so hard to detect? Because lag is totally normal in online games. Everyone experiences it. Internet hiccuped for a second, router blinked, someone at home started downloading a movie. Servers are used to dealing with these situations. They don't panic when a player disappears for a couple of seconds. They just think, this person's internet froze, happens. And technically, the setup can be embarrassingly simple. The most primitive lag switch is literally a physical button on a network cable. Press it, internet cuts out. Release it, back on. No complex code, no programs, just a button. There are software versions too, a utility that blocks network traffic to Roblox servers at the press of a key. Roblox tries to combat this by checking whether player movements are realistic, but hackers set their switches to very short pauses, half a second max, to avoid triggering alarms. Each method has its own weakness. Proto-conversion gets caught by enhanced prototype checking. Lua wrapping can be uncovered through behavior analysis. DLL injection is always a risk of an instant ban. And lag switching gives itself away through characteristic disconnect patterns. And here's what's important to remember. Roblox's protection is constantly evolving. Byfriend updates all the time. What works today could be completely blocked tomorrow. This is an endless race between hackers and developers, and every year, the protection gets stronger. Which means playing fair isn't just the right thing to do, it's also just more reliable. And finally, Card 5. We're going to find out what hides behind hacker communities. Let's go behind the scenes and look at what's actually happening inside the Roblox exploiter community. Not from the outside, not from a regular player's perspective, but from the people who actually do this. Because trust me, it's not as glamorous as it might seem. Historically, hackers really did achieve impressive results bypassing Roblox's security, and the community around it was, surprisingly, pretty decent. One exploit developer described it like this: "The Roblox exploiting community back when Synapse still existed was at its peak. Good communication, people were mature, and so on." If you didn't catch that era, Synapse X was one of the most famous and powerful executors in Roblox history. An executor is a program that lets you run your own scripts inside Roblox, essentially the main tool of any exploiter. And Synapse X was the gold standard. Everyone knew it, everyone respected it. Back then, entire platforms existed where exploiters communicated, shared knowledge, exchanged tools and techniques. People learned there, helped each other, discussed new methods. It was a real community with its own rules, culture, and hierarchy. But everything changed. The community is completely different now. If before it was about sharing knowledge and mutual support, now everyone is pulling the blanket to their own side. People hide their discoveries, don't share methods, and if someone asks for help, they're more likely to get a toxic response than actual advice. Why did this happen? Partly because of money. When money enters the picture, the atmosphere changes. Most exploit developers, especially those making free software, don't make millions, but they do earn something. The main income comes from sponsors and ads. Sometimes that's hundreds of dollars a month. For an adult, that's not much, but for a teenager doing this from their bedroom, it's serious motivation. And when money is on the line, friendship and cooperation end fast. And now for the most interesting part, the thing that genuinely makes exploiters go cold. There are rumors that Bifron has officially moved to the kernel level, the deepest level of the operating system. If that's true, it means Bifron no longer operates just as a regular program on your computer. It runs as part of the operating system itself. It has absolute control. It sees everything, every process, every file, every action. But Roblox didn't stop at just Bifron. They started using another clever tactic: ban waves. Before, if you got caught exploiting, the ban came more or less immediately. Bad for the hacker, but useful for exploit developers since they quickly knew their method was exposed and started working on a new bypass. Now Roblox does things differently. They detect an exploit, but don't ban immediately. Instead, they quietly gather information: who's using it, when, how often. And then, days or even weeks later, they drop a mass ban. Thousands of accounts go down simultaneously. The Roblox hacking scene has gone through its ups and downs. There were times when exploiters seemed to be winning, and times when the protection made a major leap forward. For years, people mocked Roblox's moderation, calling it lazy, ineffective, sometimes just plain stupid. And honestly, they were often right. But things are changing. Roblox is no longer the defenseless giant everyone used to laugh at. They're investing serious resources, hiring serious specialists, and taking serious measures. Whether you like it or not, Roblox might finally be doing something right. But now it's time to talk about the hackers themselves. Right here, I covered the most dangerous Roblox hackers. Click on the video right now. I'm giving you exactly 3 seconds. Click it, faster. All right, enjoy the watch.